How can a wretched, radically depraved sinner, God-hating, sin-loving, become a man or a woman who is godly, full of piety, full of Christian virtue? I mean, if anyone would ask that question, you've probably heard me say this before, but it is a greater demonstration of God's power when He converts a man than it is when He created the universe. He created the universe ex nihilo, out of nothing. But when He recreates a man, He does it out of a mass of radical depravity. I remember my years in Peru. There was a family, I won't mention their name, but they were both lawyers. And the husband was a scoundrel of scoundrels. He was a scoundrel among lawyers. He was a scoundrel. And he was converted. And he became one of the finest men I have ever known. One of the finest. How does that happen? That's a mystery. And see, one of the reasons why it's so important that you understand the doctrine of depravity is so that you can revel in that mystery. If you think that men are just pretty much good and God just kind of, does a little bit, touches them a little and brings them into His family, then you can't appreciate the gospel. But when you realize that Hitler is what you would have been if God had not restrained your evil, then when you see yourself with new virtue, loving God and loving people, you go, great is the mystery of godliness. It's a mystery that science hasn't been able to figure out. I mean, we can land a man on the moon, but we can't make a safe neighborhood. God can. God can. Because He can change the people who are in that neighborhood. Great is the mystery of godliness. And what is that mystery? We see it before us here in verse 16. It is the gospel. It is really a person. He. Mystery of godliness. He. Christ, the Son of God, who was revealed in the flesh, was vindicated in the Spirit. What does that mean? That when He was raised from the dead, it was God's vindication of His Son. If you have any doubt whether or not Jesus of Nazareth was the Son of God, God answered that question. He raised Him from the dead. And if that's not enough vindication for you, if that's not enough evidence, then I've got some bad news instead of good news. No other evidence will be given to you. He raised Him from the dead, and He vindicated Him. He was seen by angels. He was proclaimed among the nations. One of the things that's so important to understand about Christianity is it wasn't done in a corner somewhere. It isn't some hidden or nationalistic religion. It's been proclaimed among the nations, and people from every tribe and nation and language. Most have already come into the fold, and others will before He comes back. You see, when you look at Christianity from the perspective of the West or the United States, you might say, wow, small minority. Small minority. You go to Indonesia, you look at the amount of Christians, and you might say, small minority. But if you take all the Christians from every country of the world and you bring them all together, you see, this is the biggest thing going. So He was vindicated in the Spirit. He was seen by angels. He was proclaimed among the nations. He was believed on in the world. He was taken up into glory. He has outlined for us the gospel of Jesus Christ. Now, what is the great mystery? The revealed mystery now. What is the great truth, the only truth that can make a man godly? That can make a man pleasing to God? That can give a man true piety? What is the only thing that can do that? The gospel of Jesus Christ. The gospel of Jesus Christ not only saves us. The gospel of Jesus Christ is the primary means of sanctifying us, of changing our lives, of making us imitators of God in Christ. It is this message of the gospel. It is understanding the gospel. And in that understanding of the gospel, being changed by it, and the greatest manifestation of that change being faith towards God and love towards the saints. And it's the only message. You see, here's one of the great problems in the church today. We thoroughly believe Romans chapter 1 verse 16. We say the gospel is the only message, the only power through which a man can be saved.